So welcome everybody. This is the third webinar for the Digital Leaders Club Growth Conference 2020. So I've known Denis. How long have we known each other for, Denis? About 6 years? 5, 6 years?
Maybe more, I don't know, yeah, something like that.
So Denis used to be the Director of Digital for Stepstone, which is a global online classified ads business. And then before that worked as the head of online for Rexel, which is a 13 billion turnover electronics business. And then most recently, he's got into the world of self-promotion, LinkedIn, social marketing, and he's actually brought out a book called Social Selling and Marketing, the LinkedIn Magic Formula. So there it is, there it is. So if you haven't read it, please have a look on Amazon. Is it on Amazon, Denis?
Yes.
Yeah, so have a look at that after this. But yeah, we're going to try and make this as an engaging session as possible. It's all around self-promotion, and it's all about how you can actually look at LinkedIn to promote yourself and look at lead generation at this moment in time, and also post-COVID. Denis is going to give a presentation. Please do ask any questions throughout, and if we miss any questions, we'll pick those up at the very end. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoy today's session, and I'll pass you over to Denis.
Hello all, I'm going to switch over to my presentation and then we'll kick off. Okay, hope you all see it. All good? Jack, can you see it?
Yeah, all clear.
Okay, good. So thank you very much all for attending the session today. I'll try to be about half an hour, a bit more presentation itself, and then later on we'll open for questions, depending on Jack how long we can run, and depending on your questions. But I'm not in a rush. I'm not going anywhere today, so yeah. Feel free to ask any questions. Okay, but before I start talking too much, I will ask you a question first, and this is my question. If I can get that slide on. Yes. This is my question to you all. Can you please use the chat to just say, what is your currently the biggest business challenge? Anything, just throw it at me. New business, finding clients, impact on your organization, new clients, new work, getting responsive communication, reach, jobs, prioritization, finding clients.
Lots of good ones there.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. Knowing how to promote my copywriting services effectively when there is so much competition. That's a good, all good, all good. I mean, obviously looking for a job is not very good, but it's what I predicted really. And I tend to summarize all of this with very, I call it a common denominator. And it is this, generating revenue. So no matter what you said to me earlier, finding a job, finding clients, getting how to look after my client, my staff, how to manage the organization, all of it, it always comes to the one single thing, and it's how do I generate revenue? How do I, or how can I help my company and my organization generate leads and get new sales? That's basically the end game. And whatever I cover today, I think this is going to be the main focus in how can I help myself or people that I'm working with in generating sales and revenue. Make sense? To show you that you're not unique, and this is pre-COVID stuff, HubSpot, they do great research on various things, various digital stuff, both marketing and sales. And they recently did a great book publication on various things, and they ask companies what is their top marketing challenge. As you can see, 65% of organization, they say, is generating traffic and leads, just to prove that whatever you said to me earlier is basically you're not different to everyone else. And it's not just specific to COVID, to this particular period in the last 2 months, but it is pre-existing as well. And if we go to sales as well, very similar results. What are your company's top sales priorities is closing more deals, improving efficiency of the sales funnel, and so on. But one which I always like to highlight, and I particularly liked, and this is what HubSpot picked up a few months ago when they did this survey, is social selling. So social selling, 28% of organizations pick up social selling as one of the top priorities. This was for 2019, and I can only expect that they haven't released it for 2020, but I can only expect that this percentage is even higher. What it says, how I translate this particular figure, I always say, if you don't do social selling, you know that every third of your competitors, even organization, or even if you are freelancer, you know that every third person or company does it already. So the question is, how fast can you get up to speed with it, and how quickly you can do it? But before I go any further, just a little bit about myself. I know Jack introduced me, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. I started online business and digital 20 years ago, and today I run my own consultancy. I'm also a university lecturer, and I, like Jack said, I published a book. I was very fortunate to have worked with some global leading organization in my time, and every so often I appear as a board member, chair, and a keynote speaker at international events. Enough about me, but let's move on with you and the digital. So this is the snapshot of April 2020. Hootsuite only published last week, I think, this survey, and quite interesting to see. There's 7.8 billion of us on the planet, and a couple of things that I always like to focus is the number of social media users as well as unique mobile phone users. If you look at this, 66% of all global population is on mobile devices, and 49%, which is half of population, global population, is on social media. Now, when you think in your terms, why social media is relevant to me, a couple of things. One, the slide before, you remember that 30% of organizations are thinking that social is really important for them, but also half of your clients, potential clients, and your target audience is on social media, or in many cases it's actually higher. When I come to that point, I'll show you what I mean. So that's the reason why we need to look in digital a little bit more, and what does it look like currently. This screen shows the change. April 2020 and April 2019. This is a global research that has been done, but fair enough, most of the countries that have been covered in this study have been from the countries affected by COVID-19. And as you can see, the growth is going up. And I tend to say to my clients is, your customers, your clients, and your target market has not disappeared with the lockdown. They just moved to a different channel in a greater number. And I can tell you confidently that the engagement and the number of content that has been published on social media in the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks has gone up. And this study that Hootsuite did shows that April this year to April last year, we have the increase, okay, in population, 1.1%. But if you look at the active social media users, you can see that we have almost 9% increase in social media use. So let me ask you this. You can put that in the chat. Do you see that you use more, just say more or less, social media in the last, I don't know, 4 to 8, in the last month to 2 months? Just say more or less. Exactly. Same, more, LOL. Okay, more. There we are. You see, so if you are using more social media, you just put the sign of equation between it. That means that your target market, your audience, in using it more. And now I'm going to my next screen, is where that social media, was the split in social media, and or people, how people use their online time nowadays. 57%, as we know, that are watching movies and all of that. But spending 47%, in our case today now, we are almost 100%, apart from people who find it funny, funny or said the same. Most of us, we confirmed that we use more social media. So there we are. We got a case built. Social media is being used more. We all use it more. The premise is that our target market is using more. So let's see how that looks like in real world. And this is 60-second in 2020. I'm sure you see these what would I call them, infographics all the time. And the amount of the information that has been put out there is absolutely enormous, and it's just going up. And what that means in our terms is this. Does any of you feel like that? Do you feel stressed or a little bit intimidated by all the amount of the information put out there? Do you ever feel it like that? Just put it in the comments, say yes or no. Particularly when you think about how can I use social media for my own business, and which particular channel. Shall I spend my time on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, which channel? Because at the end of the day, you only have, even in the lockdown, you only have 24 hours a day. So what is the best time used during your working day? So I know for myself, sometimes I feel under pressure and to say, you know, how can I make the sense out of all this sea of information? But I say to my clients, okay, let's take a deep breath, step back, and let's try and make some sense out of it all. And that's how I do it. And I pick up the channel which we're going to cover today. This is my favorite channel. I wrote a book about, and I spent most of my time on it. It's called LinkedIn. I assume that all of you are on LinkedIn. If anyone is not on LinkedIn, just put a comment no. Otherwise, I would assume that you all are. And why LinkedIn in particular? There's 670 million of us on LinkedIn. 60%, I would also, my assumption is the majority of people right on this presentation are from the UK, but I saw some other countries mentioned earlier as well. LinkedIn is growing every single day, 670 million globally. Asia is really growing market, UK as well. And for the UK, the attendees today, I can say that 60% of UK working population is on LinkedIn. And when I say 60%, I think the important part is, someone says the internet is unstable. Can you hear me and see me well? Jack, can you put a thumb up or thumb down?
Yeah, it's all fine for me, Dennis.
Okay, so it's not me, it's other people. Okay, good, fine. So yes, what 60% means for the UK, for you guys, is that 60%, and these are what I call white collar people who are decision makers, they are stakeholders, they are heads of, these are the people who will eventually, ultimately buy your service or product. So that's important part to understand, that the people that you can target are already there. And that's why I think LinkedIn is one of the best channels out there. And why another important advantage of LinkedIn towards any other platform is that I call it the biggest business directory out there, and it's free. If you tell me that you would like to talk to, I don't know, CEO of any company anywhere in the world, or head of marketing, or head of sales, or whoever, or purchasing manager, procurement, head of procurement, whoever it is, within a couple of clicks, you can get to these people very easily. And that's the advantage of LinkedIn, which no other social media channel offers. And to make things easy for my clients, and that's what I based my book on, is the methodology that I created. I call it 5 easy steps. How can you enable yourself to create that momentum? How can you get those clients? How can you start talking to them? And eventually, you remember the second slide when we said, what is your biggest challenge? And we said, creating revenue. So how can you create revenue? How can you manage that process yourself? I covered in these 5 little steps, which I will go very quickly today, because it does take a little time to go through all of them. But the one which I may spend most time on is positioning and brand building. Hence the title of today's seminar is, personal branding and lead generation during and after COVID-19. So let me ask you this. Can you see this? I would like you all to comment. Do you see the train coming into the station or leaving the station? Just say leaving, arriving. Okay. Arriving, most of them said leaving, both actually arriving. So we got a bit of split here. Some people think it's arriving. Some people think it's leaving. But if you look long enough, actually train does both, or this is an animated GIF. If you look long enough, you can see train both arriving and both leaving. And my point with this one is how do you position yourself? It is the first impression counts. So in many cases, why I put this slide on is to put the emphasis on the importance of the first impression. First impression really counts, no matter what are you representing a company, or you're freelance and trying to position yourself, building your personal brand. You have to think in terms, what is the first impression that you leave? When I go to this train, it's really important what the message is. So let's imagine that you are the platform officer. So if the train is leaving, your message will be slightly different to the passengers on the platform. You will say, don't worry, the next train is only 2 minutes away. And then your message is different to if the train was arriving, you would say, please, this is the train going to Wimbledon, rather than, I don't know, Notting Hill Gate. So same with your LinkedIn profiles and your social media positioning. You need to be quite clear who is your target, who you wish to connect with, and what your message that you're giving away is. And I've got this slide in front of me. Do I talk too fast? Just say, Denis, you're talking too fast, because I've got quite a few slides to cover in the short period of time. So please, if anyone wants me to slow down, I will. Good, fine, all good. Yeah, that's good, thank you. So I got this connection request on LinkedIn the other day from somebody in Switzerland, and I like to use it for my presentation. This guy, as you can see, he's got, I don't know, there's not much to see about him. There's no experience of any sort. He didn't say what he does All I know, he lives in Switzerland. He's got his background image empty, and his photograph, strangest of all, as you as you can see, it's I don't know, he's half naked, or at least I assume he's half naked. And I always say to myself, what sort of business he had in mind when he asked me to connect with him. So this is the sort of thing you need to think, what is the first impression you leave with people when they come to your profile, no matter which profile we're talking about. But in this, LinkedIn is the one which represents you professionally. And these are the sort of building blocks of your LinkedIn profile. Use the header, use the background header. It's free. LinkedIn is one of the busiest websites in the world. I compare this banner as the, you know, when you drive down the motorway and you see long, big billboards. This is a billboard on the motorway, and some people leave it empty. I'm not saying all of them, but lots of people leave it as a default LinkedIn profile. Use it. Tell a story. Say something that this is part of your brand. Tell something about you, why you are different to others. The end game really is, if you're going back to my 5 steps, the first step, I call it positioning. The whole game is, how do you position yourself so your clients, your potential clients and your current clients can see you better than everyone else? What makes you different? Why would they pay you money than pay somebody else? And this is a great place for you to showcase who you are. No matter what you do, you can use it for your advantage. You can add videos, you can add PDFs, document images. You can enrich it as much as you possibly can. I'm sure Jack can agree with me here. This is glorified CV in a way. On a printed CV, you go maybe 2, 3, 4 pages. But here, this is so much more interactive. You can have live recommendations. You can have live links to videos of yours. You can think of, there's, you know, if you're a graphic designer, or if you, I don't know, lawyer, or I don't know, whatever sort of profession you are, you can always showcase what you did for your clients and why people would benefit in, first of all, following you, engaging with you, and I'll go through the other steps in a minute. But the first one is very important, is how do you position yourself? I'll give you a little tip. Just LinkedIn critical for recruiters. Okay, someone said it is for recruiters, but trust me, it's not just for recruiters, for any line of business. I come across not just my clients, but also I come across posts of people from all sorts of professions, when they say they pick up clients through social media, LinkedIn in particular, all the time, just being just through engagement and the proper positioning. Just a little tip. Sometimes people say, okay, Dennis, yes, but you know, I haven't wrote a book, so I'm not really sure what to put in my header. If you haven't got a strong brand built already, or your corporate brand, just put something which may, if you local business, you can always put a local image of your local town or city. Or a good one that I recommend to people is, if you ever come across, now it's harder because we're all locked down, but if you do have images, if you ever took a selfie with a famous person or professional person or whoever it is, put them there. Because the first impression when someone comes to your LinkedIn profile will think that you've done a good job. You've been working for somebody. Do you know the program called Dragon's Den? You know those dragons, very famous entrepreneurs. Things like that. If you come across a famous person, take a selfie with them and just put it up there. And if you say, "Oh, look at this guy, he did some work with, I don't know, Peter Jones from Dragon's Den," or, "Oh, this guy knows Richard Branson. He must have done some work with him." It just did. Visually, you can improve your credibility. Think about that, how you can do it. Also, use your headline. as keywords, enrich it with keywords, because when people search for specific things, you may crop up on various searches, not just LinkedIn, but everywhere else. And this is the good one. I say, and this is not my saying, actually, other people say as well, you are who Google say you are. Today, you really are your brand, whoever you are, even if you're working for a big corporation, even if you're CEO or if you are just administrator or freelancer, whatever you are, Google will say who you are. And I'm sure Jack can confirm with me as well. Before you interview people, before you do any jobs, before you always do your due diligence. I know when I was in corporate, when I was employing people, the first few things always I would look for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. These 3 channels to see who the candidates are. And I'm sure in recruitment that's particularly important. But if you are corporate, for whoever is corporate here, I'm managing director of my own consultancy price, but okay, I'm trying to see if there are any relevant questions to what I'm talking right now, and to make it social networks. I find there are more jobs adverts. I highly disagree. Whoever thinks LinkedIn is just for jobs, LinkedIn is for generating leads and generating business, and I will show you that in few moments as well, how you can do that in simple steps. But if you don't position yourself, so let's say it's only for finding jobs. If you are signing a contract with an agency, so let's say you're managing director from a company, and you're going to sign a contract for a marketing agency, the first thing, and I can guarantee this, you will go online, you will go on LinkedIn, and you will try to find credibilities, find some reviews of that company. You will do your due diligence on this. We all do that. And if you're spending money acquiring the people like that, it will only take a few moments of your time to do this search. So go back to what I said earlier. You are who Google say you are. If you type your name into Google, I'm almost certain the first thing that comes on top will be your LinkedIn profile. Google spiders LinkedIn, indexes LinkedIn, and that's why you need to be very active on LinkedIn. But let me move on. It's limited time. We're running out of time. Let me just, I can't see the clock. But anyway, so the next one is prospecting. Prospecting means how do you search for your ideal. Jack, just put a time on. I can't see the time anywhere. So
we're half an hour in, Denis.
We already, it's half. Is it 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, yeah.
Right. Okay. Let me try this to wrap it up in about 10 minutes.
Cool.
Okay. So prospecting is the next one. How do you look for your ideal client? It's really easy. You've got a filters on LinkedIn where you can look for the size of the company, geography, postal code, what sort of industry, and just by little searching, prospecting, you can come up with a list of people that are in your target market. Connecting, that's the next one. How do you connect with them, and why do you need to connect? Because you can't send messages to anyone, you can't engage with anyone unless you connect with them. Actually, you can follow people on LinkedIn, but you can't send messages. And engagement is much richer if you do connect, but also when you connect, then they can start seeing your content. Connecting, there are various ways of connecting. There's some templated message, but the best always is make it personal. Try to figure out what that person does. Look what they do on LinkedIn, like some of their content, some of their posts and articles, and then go back to them and try to engage. See if they have any particular issues, particular pains that you can solve for them, and then start engaging with them, which is the number 4. This is really, really quick overview of what it is. And I'll mention later, if anyone's interested, I do half-day boot camps where I go practically through every single one of these steps in a very practical way. When we do login on you log into your profiles, and we'll do this together step by step. Engagement, various ways: posts, events, articles, images, videos. Events is something really good recently came up from LinkedIn, where you can start creating events. You can call people to come to your events. You can do a little bit explanation of what your business does. One of my clients, they are HR. They help HR businesses, people who have HR issues, or outsource, for example, HR to this company. And recently I suggested that why don't you just create a free webinar, half an hour, how to help businesses with following people, or all the issues with the latest government legislation. They started doing it, and now they do it every week. They have a regular webinar every single week, and they're picking up clients on the back of it just through LinkedIn. They created the LinkedIn event, invited people to come to their free webinar, and on the back of it, they started picking up clients. Converting, this is the one. People say, like I had a few comments, it's mainly for recruitment. I disagree, and I'll give you good examples why you can see my point. This is HubSpot study that I keep referring to. One of the major one, the top, what sources of information do you rely on when making business purchasing decisions? 55% top is word of mouth, friends, social media is the important one, referrals. And the emphasis is social media. And now let me just give you two great examples where social media play the crucial part. Think about the last presidential elections in the US. Think about the referendum in the UK. Both of those were either won or lost, depending on which side of the fence you are, were on social media. A few months ago, before the lockdown, Mark Zuckerberg was in the White House. I made a post and I made a little sarcastic comment on LinkedIn saying that Mark Zuckerberg is visiting his biggest clients. You can imagine how active White House and Donald Trump campaign is going to be on social media, because these people understand the power of it. And lots of companies, IBM, and I can give you a huge list of companies that use it to their great advantage, social media, and how to help themselves using it. This is something that I did for one of my clients in December, only a few months ago. As you can see, we managed to create 25,000 reactions, which is likes, applauses, hearts. Basically, it's likes on LinkedIn, with over 1 million views. If any one of you publishes or put anything in printed form, they will know how much would cost to put something in front of 1 million readers. But this is people who really saw this particular piece of content, rather than when you print on a paper that lots of people, even if you put an advert in papers, people wouldn't see it. And this was the biggest, the nicest thing about all of this was it didn't cost anything. 25,000. Sorry, I didn't mention this. This is a screenshot. When you put the content, for those who are not familiar with it, when you create a content or post on LinkedIn, and later on, this is like a little analytic view of your post, and you can see how many people liked it, how many views you had, and all of that. Another thing as well, somebody who did started implementing my 5-step methodologies. You can see how their profile shot immediately after they started just doing simple things with LinkedIn. I'm wrapping it up. If you're really interested to find out more how social selling and marketing, particularly with LinkedIn, and following my 5 really simple steps in detail, you can go on Amazon and check my book. I've got few testimonials either on my website or here, where people do thank me for great results. As soon as they start implementing, they do get leads, they do get sales. It's not just me trying to boost my how do I say, rating or anything. It is the case with people. And then the last thing, when I wrap up, if you want to learn more, I've got a boot camp when we run it for the half a day, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. Very practical. There's the details down there. And that really wraps up my presentation, and I would love to hear someone already purchased my book. Thank you so much for buying it. I'm sure you will find it useful. Any questions, please, or you can email it to me, or let's connect on LinkedIn. By the way, yes, I'm more than happy to connect with all of you, whoever you're here. I will stop sharing, and I will give you my LinkedIn profile, so you can request LinkedIn connection. Just say that you've been on my seminar today, so I know where you're coming from. Here it is. Feel free to connect with me. Any questions or anything like that, I will follow up. So yes, over to you, Jack.
We've got a question. Thanks, Denis. We've got a question here, which I was actually thinking about last week because I put up an article. So do you have an opinion on posts versus articles in terms of visibility to your network? I posted, I keep posting posts, anything which comes to my mind pretty much from conversations I usually have. And then I wrote an article for the first time, I think in the best part of a year. And what I found is that with posts, people like it more. But with articles, people comment on it more because I'm guessing there's more text. But what's your opinion?
Okay, that's a very good question. Articles used to be #1 pieces of content on LinkedIn, and I'm going back probably about 2 years ago. But posts are now the most engaging part. Articles have been a bit neglected by LinkedIn in the last maybe year or so. They very much pushed video content through. And if there were some studies people did on what is the best form of content. Video came #1 in terms of engagement and views. The videos come #1, post is #2. Now probably posts are neck and neck. Interestingly enough, some studies were done. Is post with image versus post without image? Which one is better? Some studies suggested that posts without image, which is a bit odd to think, are better than the posts with image. Apparently, LinkedIn algorithm prefers them that way. But what in advantage to article, going back to your original question, advantages of article is that their longevity is much longer, and then they stay as part of your profile forever after. If you go to someone's profile, you can always see their articles being listed there, while posts, the life of a post is probably about a day, and after that it starts tailing off. If you really have a really good engaging post, you may have it for about a week at most, and after that it just disappears into the void. So those are if you're after engagement, building engagement, finding if you do, LinkedIn just released surveys 2-3 days ago. If you wish to find out some feedback from your followers or from people on LinkedIn, yes, use posts, use these quicker engagement content forms rather than articles. But if you're after longevity, use article. And just one last thing is why articles are good. They're also indexed, spidered and indexed by by Google. So sometimes you can be found through Google search if your content is relevant to Google searches.
And there's another follow-up question from that. So Paul has said, if he's written an article published on another website, when and how should you cross-promote that on LinkedIn? And should he reproduce that as a LinkedIn article?
Okay. Sometimes this question comes as a offshoot of SEO and what, in terms of search engine optimization, what's the best practice? You don't want to repeat and make a duplicate content. So what I tend to say to people, and I've done in the past, is you create an article on LinkedIn, just do a couple of paragraphs and say, if you would like to learn more, ... come to the website, and you put a URL to your website, and then people will go on your website to read the full article, and also you can have a pop-up grab for their email address if you have an ebook or whatever it is. So you can put these people into your funnel depending on how your inbound or how your funnel is built on your website. So yes, that's my suggestion. And also another thing as well, if you have a longer article, if your article is 10 things to do this or that, you can always dissect it into smaller chunks and create a smaller posts with a hyperlink over to your website.
Somebody has also asked, so Paul's asked, does anyone pay for premium on LinkedIn? I used to about 2 years ago, but I got very little value out of it. I think with LinkedIn Premium, this is my opinion, it's more the long-term game, isn't it? If you're looking for immediate results,
okay,
you feel disappointed. But I think it's more about kind of keeping it consistent and having that long-term kind of thought process. What do you think?
Okay, it has its own advantages for LinkedIn Premium. One big one is the search filter. When you're looking for your leads, when you're trying to connect with people, for your search filters are much more comprehensive. I think the free version of search, people search on free version, is about 10 different parameters. On Sales Navigator is about, I think it's about near 50 different search parameters. So if you're a small business and you only do local people, so let's say if you're a local accountant, you can only serve local people in your area. With free version of it, you can just go Greater London and, I don't know, Milton Keynes and great cities like that, but not the small specific areas like that. But if you do have Sales Navigator, you can be very specific geographically, but also if you're targeting, let's say, companies with the larger, so let's say you're targeting large companies, then you can profile them by the size of their company. So let's say you're targeting companies with over 1,000 employees, then you can do that with Sales Navigator. With free version, you can't do, say, I'm only looking for SMEs 1 to 10 employees, so I'm looking for 100 to 2,000 or whatever it is. So those are some of advantages. There are a few others, but those are the main, I would say. And I always say to people, you can always do it for 1 month. Where's my finger? One month for free. LinkedIn always offer 1 month free. So you do it for a month and see if it's worthwhile. And after that, you can cancel it. It's easy to cancel anytime you want.
Somebody's also asked, I think this is a big question actually, but I mean, what are your big no-nos regarding how not to use LinkedIn? I think there's lots of answers there, but I guess maybe we can relook at that question and think, what are the top 3 things people can go away and implement straight away in terms of their social profiling and how to kind of push themselves maybe over the next week? What can they do?
Okay, yes, I'll answer both of them. So talking about personal branding and positioning, the 3 things: you have to create your brand, you have to show people what you stand for, you have to have your own voice. That's what is important. Be yourself. Whoever you are, just be yourself. And that's what social media loves. When you tell your personal stories, when you do engage with people, when you tell them your feelings, when you engage with them, go back and discuss things. That's what you need to do. Those are, I would say, like three important things. It's position yourself in the right way, engage with the right audience, and that will build the trust. Trust is the most important. At the end of the day, you will never do business with anyone unless there's a trust in between. And the only way to do that trust is human to human. What not to do is, like you've seen lots of people nowadays do, is just spamming your LinkedIn, the same like they're spamming your inbox on your email. Just say, oh, I found there are really the templates that are circling around, say, I see you are in a particular sector, I would like to connect with you, would you like to, whatever it is, and then you connect with them, and within 10 seconds they send you another follow-up message and say, would you like to buy my service, or do you have 15 minutes, I would like to talk to you to show you how we do A, B, and C. It's like cold calling. You can try that, but honestly, your figures will not be great. People will not engage with you. I don't think you will create trust, and longevity of that activity is not going to go far. Be yourself. That's the most important one, is just be yourself and build your brand about yourself. if I also may say, some people, I get this question all the time. So do you think that people say, do you think my LinkedIn profile is more important than my company's? Or where should I put the emphasis? Company, business, or my personal? And I always say your personal, because you do business person to person, human to human. That's how business is built. So emphasis your personal and then company second.
So somebody else has asked, so Money has asked, she's thinking of a LinkedIn event for a community of professionals. How is your experience with this, or is it better doing it on Zoom?
Sorry, yes. When I said LinkedIn events, it's basically LinkedIn events is just like it's like a post / article / notice board information that you are organizing an event on such a day, and then you have an option to invite people to that event, and people will get a notification that you're organizing an event, and then they can say they will attend or not. But your event will happen on Zoom or any other platform that you decide to do. So platform or delivery of your webinar or your community, however you call it, community gathering, will be off LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just like an invitation, easy way to inviting people to your event.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? There's been a lot of comments there, Denis, just about the value of LinkedIn Recruiter. So I think there's been a few mixed opinions. People find it useful. People find it challenging. But a lot of people saying, I think Paul mentioned about it's really good just to connect with people and build that relationship up over time. Any other questions, guys? Cool.
No, I can see people comment. Yeah, absolutely, I totally agree. At the end, people buy you more than anything. I mean, you know, just think about big brands. People still think about Steve Jobs when they talk about Apple. People still talk about Bill Gates when they talk Microsoft. You know, when you talk about Virgin, you're talking about Richard Branson. You know, people do buy from people. People's story is always important one.
Denis, absolutely loved it. As I said before the webinar, I love our conversations. So I think, yeah, if anyone wants to connect with Denis, because I'm guessing, particularly with LinkedIn, there's loads of questions you'll probably think of afterwards. Denis has just put a link into his LinkedIn there. Please do connect with him. If you need any advice, give him a shout. And then in the meantime, we've got 2 more webinars, one tomorrow, one on Friday, and then 4 next week. So please do sign up to those if you haven't signed up to them already. But hopefully everyone's found it useful. And yeah, have a great afternoon, guys.
Thank you all for coming. Lovely to meet you all. And let's follow up on LinkedIn. All the best. Stay safe.